When we're solving a system, we're looking for the ordered pair that is a solution to each of the equations in the system. When we solve using a graph, we graph each of the equations and we look for the ordered pair that occurs on each of the graphs. This happens at the intersection point. We can very similarly solve a system using tables. To solve using tables, we make a table for each of the equations. And then we find the solution by looking for the ordered pair that is in each of the tables. Let's do that for this example system. Y equals 4x minus 9, y equals x minus 3. To make a table for any equation, we're going to evaluate the equation for each of the values of x. So I can plug in 0 for x. 4 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 9 is negative 9. So I would write negative 9 here. Evaluate that equation for x equals 1. Plug in 1 for x. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 minus 9 is negative 5. Write negative 5 here. Evaluate that for 2. Plug in 2 for x. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 9 is negative 1. So you can always make a table that way. However, since both of these equations are linear, we know a faster way to make a table from the equation, using the start value and the rate of change. The start value of this equation is negative 9, and that means when x is 0, y is negative 9. The rate of change of this equation is 4. That means when x goes up by 1, y goes up by 4. I can find this next value then by adding 4 to negative 9. Negative 9 plus 4 is negative 5. X goes up by 1, y goes up by 4. X goes up by 1, y goes up by 4. X goes up by 1, I need to add 4 to find my value of y in the next row, and that is 7. Similarly, I could evaluate the second equation for each of these values of x. I could plug in 0 for x, 1 for x, 2 for x. Or I can use the start value of negative 3 and the rate of change, which is an invisible positive 1. So add 1, add 1, add 1, and add 1. Now that we have both tables, we need to find the ordered pair that exists in both of those tables. It's not 0, negative 9, 0, negative 3. Not 1, negative 5, 1, negative 2. 2, negative 1, 2, negative 1. There we go. There is our solution. Not 3, not 4. So our solution, which we have to remember to write down as an ordered pair, is 2, negative 1. It's really, really, really common for students to not write anything but the tables or to circle this ordered pair in the table. You have to write down the ordered pair. You have to answer the question, what is the solution to this system? The solution to the system is 2, negative 1. The way that this procedure is described in the directions is find the x value where the y values are the same for both equations. This is referring a little bit more to what I would call a double table. So we could do the same process, but instead of making two completely separate tables, I could list my x values, and then I could calculate my first set of y values in my second column, and then my second set of y values in this final column. So I would have the same values. And then I would need to look for the x value where the y values are the same. These two tables contain exactly the same amount of information, but I'd say this double table is the more common way to organize that information. This double table is really similar to the output of your graphing calculator if we were in school using graphing calculators. If we were in school using graphing calculators, we would do this exact same process, just not making the tables by hand, but having our calculator make the table for us. When you're back in school, you will learn how to do this. It's not really that hard. It's just a couple of buttons, and then voila, your calculator takes these two equations and creates a double table for you. When you have this double table, you will look for the value of x that has the same values of y for both equations. And then you will write down, here is my solution. My solution is 534. Usually your teacher will require you to copy down a couple of rows from this table, like 3, 4, 5. I can't see it because my eyes are too old, but you would copy down a couple of tables to sort of justify that you actually did do this using your calculator. This is a skill you will get really good at once you're back in school, once you have a calculator, and you don't need to worry about it. Right now, you don't need technology. You are able to make your tables by hand and then look for the ordered pair that occurs in both tables. That ordered pair is your solution to the system.